Hi, this is Josh.
This is Matt. And this is Joe.
And this is the Recklessly Skeptical podcast. So we wanted to cover some news stories today. It is November 1st, 2015. So talking about the news, there have been some recent political stories. The one from 2 weeks ago that really stands out is that Hillary kind of did really well in the debate, the Democratic debate, as well as she did the sit-in with the Republicans she answered like some 1,000 questions or something over an 8-hour period, and she did remarkably well. Now, I'm Democratic leaning, so I'm pro a Democrat winning the White House again. But if I had a choice, definitely Hillary Clinton is a distant second to Bernie Sanders.
Agreed.
So,
yeah.
So do you guys have more to say? Why do you guys support Bernie Sanders?
I think I like Bernie because he's not part of the establishment. I mean, he doesn't take money from big donors, and Hillary obviously does.
That's one of my issues with a lot of the politicians I have nowadays. You can look at Bush, you can look at Obama, and you can look at, people from both sides, and they're taking gigantic donations from the same people. So to me, they are the same person. Yeah, they may have a little bit of different views, but they're getting money from people they're going to be doing favors for. So one thing about Bernie Sanders is he's taking small donations from the little guy, and he's listening to the people, and I prefer someone who's actually for the people, and that's why I like Bernie Sanders. Also, my gosh, I lost my train of thought.
Well, so going to the Republican side, some Republicans might say, well, we've got a couple of non-establishment candidates. Look at Donald Trump and look at Ben Carson, yeah. So
I love let me explain to you what Donald Trump is. I was watching a thing to him about him. I think it was yesterday, and it was a little bit, or just a little clip of not a debate, but an interview, and he was saying, I've had it hard before. I've had it hard. I started out in Brooklyn, and my dad gave me a small loan of $1 million, and I had to do it on my own.
And back then, when he got that donation, $1 million was worth more than $1 million is now.
Yeah, and it's like, so I don't think he's really for the people. I don't think he even knows what it means to be part of the people.
And another thing about Trump is that he used to donate to politicians.
Yeah.
So he is totally part of the establishment. He was on one side of it, and now he's on the other side, and he is actually taking donations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just because he's outside of the political side of that, it doesn't mean that he is not an insider to the establishment. And the other thing with Ben Carson, people are saying, well, Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina are not part of the establishment. They're more than happy to take establishment money, so they have no problem there. I think that to even suggest that they're not part of the establishment or not taking establishment money or not going to do what the establishment says is just not true at all.
Agreed, definitely, 100%.
So we were talking more about politics. I think that there are some things on the right side to notice. The big one is the Republican debate, the most recent one. There's going to be definitely some changes. I think you're going to see some people fall out. What do you guys think about that?
Jeb is going to fall out like usual.
Yeah, he'll definitely fall out, and he said some stuff to Marco Rubio. And granted, what he was criticizing Marco Rubio for is justified, because Marco Rubio hasn't showed up to vote. He's missed countless amounts of voting. So Jeb was right, but the way he did it was just asinine, and the way he criticized Marco Rubio was bullshit by criticizing France, and what he said wasn't true.
Well, it was racist. It was very racist.
How so?
Well, he was implying that the French are lazy. That's racist. If I implied black people were lazy, that would be racism. It's the same with the French.
Yeah, okay.
I might say bigoted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ben, not with Ben Carson, but yeah, I think Jeb is going to fall out. I'm surprised that, trying to think of the guy's name. Who's the guy who pretends to be
A person? Oh,
yeah.
a politician.
Yeah, a person.
Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee,
Rand Paul.
a libertarian. Is
Yeah.
what you're going for.
That was the word.
Yeah, he's a fake libertarian.
He's a libertarian for votes.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So, do you want to go into the secular story?
Yeah, so there's a story. It's being reported by CNN. The article was authored by Jason Hanna and Steve Almazy. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
That's fine.
So, what it is, it's a Seattle area assistant high school football coach has been placed on paid leave for continuing to pray on the field after games, weeks after his school district warned him not to do so.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't have. I don't have a problem with it unless he was
Forcing others to
forcing others to do it. But I think Josh pointed something out that we should consider before we started making the podcast. Is that it's kids, so there could be because the coach is in a leadership position, so there could be this feeling from the kids that they don't want to
disappoint the coach and not pray along with him or not be part of who he is, his religion,
and part of the team. Like if 80% of the kids were praying, there could be 2 kids that were atheists or they're Muslim or Buddhist or whatever, and they might feel,
or even a different Christian
different
church, you know.
Yeah, and we're kind of speculating here because we don't have all the details. Not all of the details are available, so we don't know how administration found out about it. So, it's good to talk about it as a hypothetical more than speaking to this story directly.
Yeah.
So, if we assume so let's say that he was the only. Let's say they all agreed. They're all Christian and they're all close enough to the same denomination that they're not really feeling left out. How would you guys feel about it then? Like openly praying as a group, as a part of a school event, or after a school event?
Well, I think if it's part of the event, then we have issues there because not everybody is religious or that certain group. But I think if it's during the event and someone wants to pray, that's fine. That's what's great about America. We have freedom of religion, freedom from religion. If you want to pray, you can pray. If you don't want to pray, you don't have to pray. And I think if he's... So other than that, yeah, that's fine. I don't care. But then we don't have all the information. If he was forcing the kids to pray, if you were going to sit on the bench the whole time, if you didn't pray, I think we definitely have issues, and I think he should get fired.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that was very well said. So is there anything else you guys want to cover in this part of the podcast as far as news, events, anything like that goes that comes to mind?
We could talk about Ted Cruz saying what he said about climate change.
We'll introduce the idea.
Okay, so recently Ted Cruz was being interviewed, and he said that climate change is not science, and it's religion.
He would know.
Yeah, the first thing I want to point out, which is pretty funny, is that he's calling climate change a religion almost in a insulting way.
Well, he's trying to make a jab towards scientists and the secular community. He knows that would anger a lot of people, so that's the only reason why he did it. I think I'm speculating.
No, I think you're right, but the dumb thing is that he is religious, so he's using religion. He's insulting it as calling it a religion, but he's religious.
Well, he was just trying to do that, just as a jab.
Yeah,
I don't think he really believes it. That's the thing. I think he was just probably the heat of the moment, and he was just, trying to take a jab towards the scientific, secular community. But guess what? It doesn't really piss us off because we are reasonable and logical, and we understand what climate change is
and why it's actually happening.
Instead of so here, my Bible says climate change is religion. And see you at church Sunday. Don't forget to give me money, or the priest money. He gives it to me because I'm his congressman.
And see, I don't know if what he's doing is, maybe Matt's right on what he's doing. I can't speak to this specific incident, but I've seen a lot of people online and in forums and stuff like that try and make religion equal to science. Matt Slick is a big proponent of that. I don't know if you two are aware who Matt Slick is,
yes,
but
I am.
Yeah, he debates in the way he debated Arn Ra in one of the debates they had, and I think they only had one. He was trying to make it, oh, well, you have faith in science. You have to have faith in your worldview. Your faith is exactly like my faith, and so you're no better than me.
Negative.
You can actually look at the evidence in science and
Test it.
Even more, yeah, exactly, Joe. You can go out and, in some situations, do the experiments yourself.
And you'll most likely get the exact same results. That's the thing with religion. You can pray and pray and pray and pray and have all this faith, and you are going to get different results every single time. You can, with science, that does not happen. And if you do get different results, you probably screwed something up, and you can go back and redo it right, and get the results that you are going to get.
Another point, Joe, if you do the test and you get different results, well, then maybe your hypothesis is wrong, and you can adjust it. And that's why science is so good. When they are shown that they're wrong or the evidence doesn't match, they will change their view. Religion will not change its view.
Yeah, you can tell a scientist that he's wrong and then show him the evidence, and then he will be like, okay, and he'll change his view. You can't do that with a lot of religion. You're right. Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that with us being called recklessly skeptical, I think that we should take a few minutes to talk about skepticism and why we think it's important. I think that's a good lead into that idea.
Agreed. So, and I agree with you a lot, Josh. You'll hear that during this podcast many times. Josh will say something and I will say, agreed.
So, skepticism and being skeptical is very important. To me, that is the best way to find truth. And people often look at skepticism as cynicism, but it's not. It's actually having an open mind and being willing to change your mind according to the evidence. And one of the reasons why that's so important is because if you just believe things on faith, then you're bound to believe things that aren't true, that are contradictory, and that are dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful summation. So I know that you did a bit of research for a video on skepticism and what that means. So you said that a lot of people talk about it like it's cynicism. Would you mind expanding on the difference between, I guess, what you called philosophical skepticism, and I disagree that it should be called philosophical skepticism?
Well, if I can remember, that was a while ago. I got a bad memory. So, philosophical skepticism is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, that a little further, is that knowledge is unattainable. Am I correct?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there's depends on how far you want to take it. I think most philosophers don't use the word skepticism that way. But what's the other term? Contrast it with the what you think is normal skepticism.
Oh, okay. When I used it in layman's terms, right, for my video?
Yeah.
Is just what I said earlier, just not believing something until there's evidence for it.
Well, and how do you think the correct... So I've had some discussions with some people online, some conspiracy theorists who state that, oh, I'm more skeptical than you are. I'm so skeptical of the government. I'm so skeptical of this that I can see the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what do you think about skepticism being used in that way, the word?
Well, I don't think they're being skeptical. They are leading the evidence where they want it to go. And that's not for everything.
Yeah, see, and because I like a lot of conspiracy theorists. I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories, and most of the time when there is corruption in politics or whatever, it starts out as a conspiracy theory, and then it's later proven. Look at Watergate. That's exactly what Watergate was. I do know people who take it too far, I think, and they will lead the evidence. Agreed. I agree with you on that. But I don't know. I think I have different views on conspiracy theorists than you guys do.
Well, I mean, sorry, what I had in mind when I was talking about conspiracy theorists is the Illuminati conspiracy theorists.
No, there's proof.
There's shadow governments.
No, there's proof. I have
Maybe.
evidence for that. I could show you, but they'll probably kill me.
Yeah, so
I was scared there for a second that you were serious.
Scared because it means it's true.
Well, and see, here's the thing that I think about skepticism. So when I hear someone say something conspiratorial, I do like to. I mean, I think that skepticism swings both ways. That yes, you can be skeptical of the government. You can say, well, maybe the government is lying to me. But then to replace it with, oh, there's some shadow government that's in place definitely and is running the whole world because of some aliens. I mean, I think that even saying the shadow government is a bit too far. If you're not applying skepticism to the alternate as well, then you can end up in very strange places.
Yeah.
Agreed. See, and I'm open to everything you just said, but I don't believe it because I have no evidence for it.
Yeah, anything's possible, I guess.
Yeah, and my anthropology teacher, when we were talking about Homo erectus, he, I'm like, isn't there almost definitive proof that they were using wooden tools? And he's like, well, we don't ever draw conclusions where we don't have evidence. And I think that that's a fantastic thing. I mean, he has an open mind, and he probably thinks that they were using wooden tools at the time, but since we have no record of them, since we have no proof of them, he's not willing to state that that's the case.
Smart guy.
Very smart man.
Yep. And was there anything else you guys want to cover on this section of the podcast?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about everything we've discussed.
I just want to say one quick thing real quick. Go fuck yourself.
All right, so we're going to go into the second part where we're going to be talking about the sex-positive movement and the ideas that go along with that, and we're going to express our feelings on that. So we hope that you check out the second half of this podcast. Thank you guys so much.
You rock.
Bye.